How you doing, guys? This is Eric from secretoftheinternet.com, buythermite.com. This video is an update on my EDC, or my everyday carry. It's the things that I carry on a day-to-day basis pretty much every time I leave the house. There are things that I carry occasionally, some things that I carry rarely, depending on where I'm going and what I think I'm going to be doing, but these are the things that I carry almost every single time I leave the house. The only thing I don't have with me right now is a pair of sunglasses, just because, you know, that's not normally considered an EDC item. It's more considered a wardrobe item, but my eyes are fairly light sensitive, so I keep an extra pair in the car, and I usually have a pair with me because it's uncomfortable for me to walk around in Florida around here without sunglasses a lot of time. But first, I will go over my set of keys. This is generally the keys, chains, and keys and everything that I have with me all the time. My normal setup is to have a basic carabiner on which I will connect various things on their own mini carabiners or the split rings. And the reason for this is that way, if I need to just get one or two items, I can just slip off. Now I just have car keys and a house key. If I have my Kubotan right here, I can slip that off and use it without my keys flying around everywhere. So I will go into these items here individually. This is just a typical cheap, not for climbing carabiner. They won't last long. They'll last, you know, a couple years usually, which is more than enough. Just be careful, because if they do start to get loose here, you want to replace that pretty quickly and not wait for it to really go out, because what'll happen is before you know it, your keys will fall off when you're pulling it out of your pocket or something. One way to get around that is obviously to get a much more quality one, maybe one that even screws on, but those are much slower to get your keys on and off. So I've noticed, as long as you keep an eye on these, make sure the spring is still sharp, you're not gonna have too much trouble. So this is my basic key set that I'm gonna take everywhere when I leave the house, and that just includes my car key, which is for my Volkswagen, my house key, my mailbox key, and a bottle opener, because you never know when you're gonna need to crack into a cold one. Now, it's not to say that my mailbox key and the bottle opener are necessarily the most important of the things other than my car and house key. It just happened to be on this split ring. Beyond that, I have my keychain Kubotan, and this is a metal knuckle duster, if you want to call it that, self-defense device that you'll put on your hand. Now these are, I don't have large hands, mine are usually adult large or medium, depending on the brand of whatever glove or anything I'm using, and mine fit very well with this. Slides on and off easily. It has a flat part here that actually rests against your hand as opposed to against your knuckles. Really avoid getting the ones, if you can, that rest against your knuckle, because those, if you punch something, it can break your fingers. Now, it still would probably hurt the other person more, but there's no reason to break your fingers if you don't need to. So get the ones that rest against your hand or you hold in your palm and can use in like a hammer fist stabbing motion. Now, a lot of people, you'll see girls especially, will post stuff like, oh, when I'm walking with my keys, I do this. And yeah, that'll work. That's certainly better than nothing, to have your keys poking out like that, but it's not great. And just like I was saying, that can seriously damage your fingers, break your fingers, and there's nothing to push it against your hand, so it's not going to hurt the opponent badly either. Pick up one of these. Do yourself a favor. It looks like a cat, so if anyone asks you what it is, just say it's your cat keychain. They're like $3 on Amazon or something. Link will be in the description. It's metal. It's a much better as a self-defense tool. And then when I'm walking around, I just keep all my keys on here, kind of holding my hand like this with my knuckles pointing down or towards my body, and no one even knows that you got anything. And then if you need to, pow, right in the throat or right in the eyes. It's going to be a much more effective self-defense tool that way. Next up beyond that is I have the rest of what's on the keychain. First up is a handcuff key, which I'd have just because, no particular reason. In case I get kidnapped or something. Now, keep in mind that there are various laws surrounding handcuff keys, official handcuff keys. In Florida, it's actually illegal to carry them concealed, with several exceptions, which the cops probably don't know. They may not even know it's illegal, based on my experience with how well the cops know random laws. But if they do know, they probably just know that it's illegal and don't know all the exceptions. One exception is when it's on a keychain. The other exception is if you tell the cops that you have it, no matter how you're carrying it, immediately upon being placed in custody. So, whatever. That's in Florida. Check your laws if you care about that sort of thing. Next up are two padlock keys. These are just duplicates for two different padlocks. I have ones that I use most often if I need one. I know exactly where these two are. That way I can just grab a padlock, put it on what I need to, knowing that I always have the keys with me for those two particular ones. Other than that, I have this pry bar, which I think was from one of the what the hell, survival boxes, I believe. And these are great because it's just, and CountyCom had them years ago. I'm not sure if they still do, probably do. These are great because they fill a niche that a lot of people use an EDC knife for in many situations, but actually damages a knife. And that's just for poking, scraping, prying, and doing anything like that, pulling. There's all sorts of stuff that people use their knives for, which aren't actually, which, you know, it's damaging to your knife. And this is just a little piece of metal. It's actually usually going to be stronger than a knife blade. It's going to take a lot more force to bend or break it. And if it does, you know, it's a couple bucks or whatever. That's what it's designed for. And you can, because there is a, you know, an edge on here. It's not sharp, but, you know, it gets down pretty thin. You can still poke that in tape or something and open a box like people do with keys fairly easily. So I really recommend picking up this. I know CountyCom used to make 3 different sizes. This was the medium, and then the little one was even smaller. A little too small for me because you can't get any leverage on it, but really useful for various stuff. It's just great to have around something that you can abuse if you need to. Next up is a micro flashlight. I believe this one is a Sears Road, which I was sent this for free. I'm gonna do a review on it soon. It's very similar to the old Meritac AAA flashlight that CountyCom had. It's cheaper, like 10 bucks on Amazon or something like that. Links in the description. I'll do a review on this. Just suffice to say that there's nothing amazing about it, but it's pretty cheap and haven't had any issues with it. So if you're not doing any super rigorous stuff, you know, dunking it in water all the time or really abusing it, it is definitely a great, just super cheap flashlight that you can grab, put one AAA in it, and, you know, always have it there on your keychain. I recommend having a flashlight. Next up, those are just my keys, is a minimalist wallet. This is fantastic. I tried out different types of minimalist wallets in the past. The last one I had a money clip on it because despite the fact that I make almost all my purchases with credit cards just for the points, there is a preparedness element to having cash around. It's a very, very good idea to carry at least some cash. And so I always like carrying cash. It's good for if you have to pay for something, split a meal, just, you know, sometimes a machine will be down and you just need, it's just a great idea to have cash. If there's any sort of disaster situation where electricity goes out and you need to pay somebody to do something or get a ride or get something, having 40, 50, 60 bucks on you. I wouldn't carry more than 100 around typically because you're just opening yourself up for some pain if you lose your wallet or get robbed. But anything less than 10 bucks is probably going to be useless too. So carry around 40 or 50 bucks, somewhere in that ballpark. So, and this was a good minimalist wallet because it has that cash pocket in it. The last one I had, like I mentioned, had a clip on it, which was good for cash, except that when I sat down and dug into my pants and the chair, because it was a little metal clip that kind of beveled out, and it was just made it a little bit bigger. This is an Anson Calder is the name of this company. That's why it has AC on it. I got this from a Kickstarter actually. It wasn't cheap, it's real leather and everything, but it's exactly what I was looking for. And I just use all the rewards credit cards that I have in here, a couple IDs, and I'm good to go. I play the reward credit card game like I mentioned in the past, so I put most of my spending on various cards to either maximize my rewards based on the type of vendor that I'm going to or to use a specific card until I reach the original spending threshold to get the sign-up bonus. Now, you obviously will note that there's not any room in here for rewards cards and all sorts of stuff like that if you don't want the big George Costanza wallet with receipts and all the rewards cards. So now the other thing that I always carry, of course, is my cell phone. I'm not gonna let you see my password. And in conjunction with the minimalist wallet, there is an app called Keyring that allows you to scan and take pictures of all your rewards cards. So if I go to the library, or pet supermarket, let's say, which I don't almost ever go to, you just click on that, and then they can either scan right off here, or if you need to see a picture of the card, it takes a picture and it stores them on your account. So even if you lose your phone, you get your new phone, download the app again, and the information's still there. This is one of my favorite apps because it actually helps out everyday real world things. So now you can sign up for that, like Lowe's account or American Eagle, or pretty much all of them if you want, just because it doesn't add any additional work in carrying around a card. That way, if you do end up going back there, my library card's on here, my movie, Regal Entertainment. I don't even go to most of these places very often, but when I do, it's all on here. Very easy. And you could even take, I haven't done this, which I probably will do, you could take backup pictures of IDs, like your concealed carry license, your driver's license, so in case your wallet gets lost or you leave it at the house and you get accosted by the police, you could at least show them, hey, look, here's some information you can look up. I'm not just making this shit up. Although I don't recommend talking to them unless you absolutely have to. As far as the phone goes, this is nothing fancy, and as you can see, I've cracked the screen, which is like the only time I've ever dropped it, and of course, it breaks. It fell out of the back of my pocket when I was sitting on like a picnic table. It made one complete rotation and just flat right on the gravel, and one popped. But this was a $150 phone. I buy phones that are a generation or 2 or 3 behind what's currently the best phone, and then I buy them without a contract. I buy them off network. I mean, I buy them, like I bought this phone on Verizon Network, but I didn't pay or I didn't get a contract extension or anything. I just went and bought the phone outright for 150 bucks. And then I keep it for a year or 2 and buy a generation or 2 newer than that one, but which is still a few generations behind the newest possible phones. And that's a great way to save a bunch of money. First of all, not have to extend your contract. And yeah, the phones are usually, you're still upgrading every time, and it's still amazing technology. All these phones do amazing things, even these older phones. Great apps for selling on Amazon, Book Scouter, we've got flashlight apps, you got Uber, it's all sorts of amazing. You got things like Shazam, which you can listen to a song and it'll tell you who it is. It's got banking, mobile banking, calculators, notepads. I've got a coupon app on here that just free money basically. Amazing stuff. Navigation obviously is huge. So having your phone and internet access and communication, obviously. So having a phone with you is not just some ubiquitous thing. I definitely recommend that you have this. The ability to record, take pictures, communicate, navigate, get information, store stuff like your rewards cards. It's just truly, truly magical technology here. We are definitely in the future. Data storage, all sorts of stuff. Note taking, I definitely recommend. It's not some like stupid millennial thing to carry around a phone. There's tons of capabilities in these computers. They're computers, and it's worth having. The other thing I always carry is a knife. Literally 99.9% of the times I step out of the house, I have a knife on me. Usually it's this one. The only times I'm not carrying a knife if I'm going directly to some sort of sporting event, like when I play kickball or something, and I usually still will have it in my car or my backpack. I just won't have it in my pocket because if I fall over and it digs into my hip or falls out when I'm running or doing some crazy moves or something. Or if I'm going somewhere like a courthouse or an airport or something where I know I'm not going to be allowed to carry it, again, I won't have it then. But other than those situations, 99.9% of the time, I have a knife on me. If you see me in public, check. Ask me. I'll be able to show it to you almost every time. And this is the one that I currently carry most often. This is carried exclusively for self-defense purposes. I don't use this for anything else. I would in an emergency, but I would consider that a self-defense. You know, if you're in a car wreck and you have to blast your seatbelt or something. So I don't use it for opening boxes and random things like that because I don't want to dull the blade, mess with the serrations. This is a Cold Steel Vaquero XL. It's great because it is enormous. This is a knife that you will have to check your local laws regarding carrying it because it's bigger than most normal pocket knives. I have a concealed carry permit, which in Florida applies to knives and other weapons as well, not just guns. Not to mention, you can open carry it if you want. So I don't know about case law as to like when you put this in your pocket, it's fairly obvious still that you have a pocket knife. So I'd be curious as to what the case law said about whether that's considered open carrying still. My guess would be that if a cop can tell you're carrying it just by looking at it and he can see it, that would certainly be considered open carrying in my mind. Because if you did the same thing with a gun, they would consider that open carrying. But who knows? Depends on how good your lawyer is, I guess. So check your laws if you care about that sort of thing. I like this because it has obviously a fearsome look to it. So if you whip this thing out, it's probably going to make them think twice about coming at you. Despite, or not despite, but in addition to the long blade length of 6 inches, it also has an extremely long handle. So you can either choke back and give yourself an additional 3 or 4 inches of reach in a self-defense situation, or you can choke up and give yourself a blunt end that you can jab or crush things with if you need to. Which is probably not particularly well made for that, but you know, in an emergency, if you needed to bust out a window or something like that, or use it to just strike someone when you didn't want to stab them for compliance holds or things like that, you could do that as well. Great knife, I really like it. Carry it with me all the time. In addition to these things, one of the final thing that I always carry when I can, which is not always, but when I can, is my Ruger LCP. It's a 380 automatic pistol. I think I have some Corbin safety slugs in there for maximum exposure, or not exposure, expansion. I think it's some partially frangible ammunition. These things do not want to work today. There we go. This is a great gun. I love Ruger. I love all their guns. This one is no exception. Obviously, it's a small gun, but having a gun that you can carry everywhere you go comfortably and well concealed is important, because if you can't carry comfortably and you can't do it with most things that you wear, you're just not going to carry it as often, bottom line. And you want something that can be with you always. So if you want to carry a bigger gun, go for it if you can on a daily basis. I've mentioned this before, is that I have found it very difficult to carry a gun bigger than this. I even find it difficult to carry a gun like this anywhere other than on my ankle, simply because of my build, body shape, the fact that I wear more fitting clothing and things like that, and in being in Florida, I don't wear a lot of clothing. It's typically very warm, even through Christmas time and everything. It's like t-shirt weather, so it's not wearing giant coats and everything. This has worked out really well for me. In addition to this holster, which is the Galco Ankle Light, which I've done a video on this before. Amazing. I've been wearing this pretty much daily for months now. You're getting a little bit of fuzz and stuff coming off the Velcro, but it's still comfortable, still holds strong, works out really well. Definitely like this. And if you need to, you can get additional magazines on your other ankle with like a Galco Ankle Safe, and I mentioned using that for travel security and stuff as well. So this is pretty much it. This is what I would carry, like if I just walk out of the house, go to the movies, or go to the grocery store, this is what I will almost always have with me, and these things that you see in front of you right here, assuming I'm wearing pants for this. But, you know, there are other things that I have that maybe I'll take with me, but they're not necessarily my everyday carry items. Like if I'm going somewhere that I have reason to believe is more dangerous, or there's a potential for some sort of conflict, which I try not to make a habit of, but if I do think that, maybe I'll take either a different gun, another gun, in addition to this one, another knife maybe. Maybe I'll have some pepper spray as well. Maybe have an additional neck knife or knife on my shoe or boot, like a LDK or something like that. You can get to in an advantage, or maybe a brighter flashlight with a strobe capability, things like that. If I'm going somewhere where I think I'm going to be doing a lot of tool work with like a knife or other things we'll have to manipulate, I might use a knife that's less suited for self-defense and more usable for other things. Maybe I'll take a multi-tool as well. So there's other situations where I'll bring other things, obviously if I have more insight into what's going to be happening when I get somewhere. But this is just the everyday carry, hence the name, EDC, every day. These are the things that I have with me every day. Let me know what you guys think, what you guys carry, and comment below about this video. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be doing a review soon on this flashlight, and probably on my thoughts on the LCP as well, with some range time maybe and everything. I know that's been done, but I want to do it too. So fuck you if you think that's stupid. Talk to you later, guys.